Good.
Afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon.
We'll start with the news that's come out over the last 24 hours or so. One of your coaches has been selected by the FA as a part of their initiative to get more BAME representation at coaching level. How pleased are you, not only with Paul as a choice for the FA, but the FA using this initiative to give more opportunities?
No, I think I'm pleased all round, for this football club. Mostly for Paul, who's somebody that's managed and coached for a long time, has a lot of experience. But of course the FA, and this was an initiative the FA spoke about a while back, and of course are seeing it through. But say mostly delighted for Paul.
What will Paul take to the FA and the England setup in terms of his qualities?
Well, I think what they will want from him, or ask from him, then that I'm not sure. I mean, that would be down, of course, to the staff there, and of course Gareth himself. But I know what he gives us, and he's somebody that has to say a lot of experience, has coached and managed at all different levels, has a thirst for knowledge, and he's also a coach that's that's had to go out of his way. He's coached abroad, been away from the family, and showed a real sort of dedication to want to coach and manage, and wanted to be part of that coaching and management environment. So he is one that's had to make sacrifices. We're delighted to have him here. I've known him a long time. We worked together at Norwich as well, and as I say, with all of it, I'm really delighted.
He joined Brighton in 2016 and has obviously been a part of your journey over the last couple of years to the Premier League. There was an interview with Baran this morning who said there's a bit of banter between him and the players, and they're all delighted for him as well.
Yes, and I think they would be. I mean, he's part of a coaching setup that we have here, and what I always try to do with my coaches is to make sure that they are included in everything, and of course they will take sessions. It's a good environment we have here, and he's very much part of that. And I think that would be the feel from the players, because sometimes that initial contact can be from player to coach as opposed to player to manager. Sometimes that's the benefit or the advantages or the job of being a coach, first team coach, or a coach that's working with a manager. So I think you are going to have that type of relationship, and he has that with the players, and they would all be really delighted for him.
Where does your relationship with Paul go back to? When did you first come across him, and why was it in 2016 you decided he was the right man to bring into the club?
I've known Paul for a long time, and what we have, of course, as a coach and a management is the management and coaching circle, and going to watch lots of games, being involved, and of course probably mostly in his time at Fulham, where he took the reserve team at Fulham, and came across him then, knew he had a good name. Obviously players that had come through the system, their youth system, to the reserve team onto the first team. But as regards knowing him well, it's probably more in sort of recent years. I've known him for some time, but that's as I say, just through the coaching circle and having been in his company a good few times. But as I say, what he has done, he's had to work hard over the years. He's not, somebody that's had it an easy way. He's gone abroad and coached, and of course had a long spell at Fulham. And I think he's a very, very well respected coach. So. Certainly an opportunity that I had to bring him into Norwich was one that I grasped straight away, and what I was always confident of is that he's somebody that can use his experience in whichever role, and he is somebody that also has had other roles.
And in terms of this initiative by the FA, like you touched upon yourself there, it's good not just to talk about making a difference, but to actually put things in place that will make a difference. How much do you think this will help BAME representation within coaching? Obviously, Darren Moore being involved as well, Paul, Sol Campbell with the under-21s. How influential do you think this could be to change the face of coaching?
I think it's a really good step. what we want in the game, and I think what the game wants is more inclusion in the game. And we speak about a lack of black and ethnic coaches, particularly at the top end, and I think the game wants that. And so any initiative, any push that we see that can be a positive, I think will be a positive. And the FA spoke about this a while back, and to see that coming into place now, I think not only at senior level, but I think at the other levels as well. I think it's a real strong indication of what the FA want to do, and really delighted with it.
Just the one win so far for you in the Premier League this season. It's obviously been a tough start, but is it important to remember the games you've played, the likes of Liverpool away, Manchester City away, Spurs at home, that perhaps that's why it's been more of a challenge to pick up the points that you had at this stage last season?
Yes, I think it is really important to put it all into perspective. I mean, one thing that never changes is that whoever you play, so we play a home game against Tottenham, we play an away game against Man City, come away from that game with a scoreline that there'll certainly be lots of other teams that will go there, and that scoreline will be bigger. But it doesn't stop the disappointment. You want to get points in every game. You want to put a performance in. So the disappointment is never any different. But you come away from that, and the next day and the next day, you do have to put it into perspective. We've in our 7 games, we've played 4 of the top 6, and 2 of them other games have been away from home. So I think we do have to put it in perspective. We now go through a period of games where some, of course, are at home, and in particular, I think 2 of our next 3 games are at home. And what we have to be able to do is in that period, we have to be able to capitalise when and where we can.
Up next, West Ham, Friday Night Football live on Sky Sports. Your one win of the season came at home against Manchester United. How important is it you replicate a similar type of performance against a resurgent West Ham?
Yeah, well, it seems to be a bit of a habit, teams come into the Amex and just hitting good form, and that's certainly what West Ham have done, and probably no surprise. I think it was only going to be a matter of time. So that heightens the efforts that we have to make sure and put into the game. We know, when we are, at our best or close to our best, and we know what we have to do to get results against any team, and we will have to get back to them type of levels, and use the fact that we are now back at home. And all due respects, but going away to Man City in our last game is it's a big achievement to get something in that game, and we have to use the fact that we are now back at home.
And when you look back to last season, 2 games against West Ham, 2 wins, 6 goals scored, 4. I'm sure you'd be happy with something similar again Friday night.
Well, a win is the most important thing, and I mean, even thinking back to the performance away from home at West Ham, and that's what can happen. They started the game very well, got a lot of crosses in, and it ended up being one of those games of moments. Jose Escuero scored a wonderful goal. We scored from a free kick, and probably overall didn't deserve the 3-0 scoreline, probably, but we was clinical that day, and what we will have to get back to being is having them moments where we can be clinical again. So good to be back home. We expect nothing less than a really tough game against them, but yes, if we can get back to good form, then it gives us a chance.
What's the Brighton team news ahead of the match?
Pascal still out. Dale is close, very close, and we'll make a decision with Dale, but that will be a bigger decision with Dale. Apart from those 2, everybody is fit and available.
And Jose Izquierdo is fit and available?
Yes.
And bearing in mind he scored two cracking goals in the 2 games against West Ham last season, that's a welcome addition to the squad.
Yeah, it's good to have him back. He's missed all of the pre-season as such, played 45 minutes of an under-23 game last week, and what we want is as many players back and available as possible, and particularly in the area. He's a player that's given us goals, last season, and it's very, very welcome to have him back.
Thank you. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Have performances, would you suggest, been better than the results you perhaps have been getting?
Probably no. No, I think I can go through sort of each game. The United game was certainly our best performances, and probably what's apart from the United one, what we probably haven't put in is that 90-minute, really good performance. Fulham, I thought we was okay, but we found ourselves 2-0 down. Second half, very good. Southampton, second half, very good. So no, I think probably the score lines are probably a reflection of I think where we are at the moment.
How would you? I mean, you've obviously seen lots of improvements in the team over the last few weeks. Where do you think you still need to improve to get back to the level you want to be at?
I mean, I could say that we've probably conceded more goals than what we would have at this stage last season. But then we've played 4 of the top 6. Probably just that level of consistency, I think, throughout a 90-minute game, and probably one area that we, I think, particularly against the top sides that we've played is our possession game, just keeping possession a little bit better, and sometimes keeping possession can be a little bit for possession's sake. That particularly when you're playing against the bigger teams, the more possession you have, it means the less possession that they have, and of course, against them type of teams, the more possession they have, they can really hurt you. So I think probably a gauge at the moment. I'm not too disappointed, I think, from what I've seen so far this season, but it's me for more now the next stages. That I think we have to improve our general game, and I'd like to think that perhaps the fact that we've got a few home games as well, that might give us an opportunity.
West Ham, I don't think, have won at Brighton in the top flight. Is that something that players, managers think about at all?
No, don't think about at all. And I know that we will always have lots of stats. One away from home last season or so. No, they generally don't. The things that come into the mind always are the type of team that you're playing against, the injuries possibly they have, mostly the form. So West Ham are in good form at the moment, and they'll be delighted with that. We're at home, so they're probably the more important factors than perhaps anything else.
I just wanted to ask another question about Glenn Murray. Is he the fine wine of the Brighton team? Is he getting better, do you think? It's a difficult question. I mean, if I'm looking over my time here, I mean, the good thing for me is that I haven't seen that much difference between Championship and Premier League, and what people would naturally think is that as somebody is getting older, if they've done well in the Championship, they would find it a lot harder in the Premier League. That hasn't been the case with Glenn, and sometimes I think the fact that there's less games, I think, helps. He gets better sort of recovery after games. He certainly looks after himself very, very well, and gives him the best opportunity to play and to play well. So I think that's probably the most important things for Glenn, and he's somebody that wants to play on as long as possible, but he's not somebody that misses a lot of training either. So we just hope that he can continue that as long as possible.
Chris, just staying with the strikers, Florian Andoni wasn't included in the 18 at Man City. Is he available? That was just a tactical decision in terms of the balance of the bench. He hasn't had any sort of steps backwards at all. No, he's fine. He was obviously on the bench for the Tottenham game, and then it was just a tactical decision, thinking on where I'm more likely to make sort of substitutions and so no, he's fit and available, which is good news. You mentioned the games against West Ham last season. Are they a different animal this year, do you think? I mean, obviously they've spent quite big, particularly on 2 players, over £50 million spent on just 2 individuals.
I think probably from a West Ham, it's I think you can always go back to another season or so. Probably the change in West Ham, I think, is early season and now. Where they obviously didn't start the season too well. I think with what they've brought in, I think it was only a matter of time before they turned that around somehow, and that they have, and I think they're in very good form at the moment, and I would imagine they're playing very close to how the manager has always wanted them to play. So sometimes it just takes that little bit of time, them few games to get really a system in place and players up to speed, and at the moment they're playing very well.